Hi there, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm back again with yet another Commander Masters deck tech. Please, thanks for coming and looking at the channel. If you haven't been here before, I'd love it if you could hit the subscribe button. That'd really help me out. But anyway, on to today's deck. Obviously, you're here because it's Gisela, Blade of Goldnight. 4 red and double white for a 5/5 legendary creature angel. Flying first strike. Okay. 7 mana for a 5/5, not the greatest ratio. But if a source you would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, that source deals double that damage. And if a source would deal damage to you or a permanent you control, prevent half that damage rounded up. Yeah, this is like the ultimate red-white, let's double the damage, let's prevent damage card that you can get. And she's very good. I've played quite a few games against Gisela in the past. It's the first time I've done a deck with her, so here's my take on what we should be doing. So, as is common practice for me, let's start with the lands. Yeah, red, white lands everywhere. I could have played Plateau. I'm not playing Plateau in this deck. I'll probably play it on my online version, but for this deck tech, I'll leave it out for now. But you can swap one of the mountains out for a Plateau if you want to. We've got both the gates in, the Cliff Gate and the Citadel Gate. Cliff Top Retreat, Command Tower, Ejano Castle, just to prevent some damage to the legendary creatures we have. And we do have a few in here. Field of the Dead's here just to give us some zombies if we need them. And then load of mountains, load of plains, Reliquary Tower, Temple of the False God, Windscarred Crag. You know the drill by now. However, I'm going to say because Gisela is a 7 mana commander, I have gone a little bit heavier than I normally do on the ramp side for my artifact land. So Tantalite, Sol's Talisman are my traditional 2 along with Sol Ring. But this one's also got Jeweled Lotus in it. We've got Arcane Signet, Fire Diamond, Marble Diamond, Talisman of Conviction, Thought Vessel, and Chromatic Lantern. We are going to need to get there with this deck, and having the 2 drops is pretty good. Chromatic Lantern could easily be anything else in the 3 drop slot, but I've gone with a Lantern purely because I wanted to. So just bear that in mind. You've got to get to 7 really quickly. But what we then want to do is make sure we've got things that can help us double our damage even further. So, if double damage with something else, we get to quadruple it with Gisela. We're only going to be preventing half damage, but we need to make sure this works. So, start with the 1-drops. Condemn a Path to Exile to help control the board. Burst Lightning, Fiery Impulse, Lightning Bolt, and Shock, just to make sure we can deal with things. Fiery Impulse can be changed quite happily. I've put it in because I've seen an increase in things that have got 2 toughness at the moment on MTGO. If you haven't got it in your local metagame, you can probably drop this and play a 38th land if you want to. It's probably what I would do if I was doing this in real life, to be honest. But because of MTGO's kind of slightly strange metagame with 2-drop creatures running riot, this one helps quite a lot. Because obviously with Gisela out, it does 4 damage, and a lot of things can't prevent that. So bear that in mind. 2 drops. Okay, it's a red deck. I've got to have Dockside Extortionist in here. Obviously, this plays double for us because it does produce us treasure tokens that we need to get Gisela into play. Then we've got Lightning Strike, Smash Smithereens to deal with those annoying artifacts. Boris Charm for a lot of damage once Gisela hits play. Deflecting Palm is an interesting choice. I've put it in because it does prevent the damage from one source, so you might be able to die. You might be about to die due to something, don't know what, but we can play it, and then it flips it around and deals that much damage to that source's controller. With Gisela in play, my understanding is it is a source, so it would deal double the damage. I understand that's correct, and it does work with some of the other things, but yeah, it's here anyway. It's probably an early drop to keep you in the game if need be. Lightning Helix, I've got a full art one on MTGO, but if you don't know what it does, it deals 3 damage to any target and you gain 3 life, so that's really useful. And then I've got the boots in just to give Gisela a little bit of hexproof hastiness when it hits play, or when she comes into play, so that does kind of help, but it's not the big end of the world. Easier if you keep Gisela in play, obviously, with this equipped to it, because recasting Gisela for the second time is 9 mana, then 11 mana, then 13 mana, so it gets complicated really quickly. But get the boots in play, get Gisela sorted out, you'll be okay. Got a little bit of protection from all of that anyway with Teferi's protection, and then Chaos Warp to shuffle something away that's annoying us. Fever or further, sorry, gives all our creatures haste, which is one of the only downside. I'd been, 7 mana. I'd have been happy if Gisela had haste, but she doesn't. But this does give us a way of making sure she has haste. Jessica's Will gives us maybe the mana we need, as well as some cards, or the mana probably just to get Gisela into play earlier. And Deafening Clarion, again, this is because of all the increase in 3 toughness or less creatures I'm seeing on MTGO. It's just a nice little cheap early game board wipe that can help us win the game. Chroma's Will is a card you can cut, but I've included it mainly because I own one now, after drafting when they put Commander Legends back up on drafting on MTGO. So this has gone in and giving everything double strike and lifelink if we get Gisela in play. It's really useful. Day of Judgment just to control the board a little bit, along with Chain Reaction, and up the end here we've got Blasphemous Act to do that as well. Big Score to draw a few cards and get a couple of treasure tokens. Perforos to deal that random damage when our creatures enter the play, and we get to do the whole doubling it up, which is quite nice. Hellrider is very nice, believe it or not. Comes in with haste, and if you've got Gisela in play, you attack with all your creatures that can attack, and that doubles up to 2 damage to the player or planeswalker is attacking, so kind of shocks them from everything else. And with some of the other cards we've got in here, it gets even better. Jessica Warrior Adept is probably a strange choice, and you're wondering why it's here, but it does ping. So you don't have to attack, but you can ping. It's quite nice. You've got a 3/1 first striker. Yes, it's fairly liable to getting killed off quite easily. But leave, you can tap it, do 1, Gisela in play, shocks it, and some of the other stuff we've got coming up will make it bigger. Like Solfin, Mayhem, Dominus. This obviously isn't included in the deck now. Basically, if you've got this in play in Gisela, you're quadrupling damage from non-combat sources. So, this goes up to 4 damage. Tap 4 damage, thank you. Aurelia, Exemplar of Justice. It's just a mentor. It does help. Whenever this creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature with the least power. That's cool. But at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose up to 1 target creature you control. Until the end of turn, that creature gets +2/+0 and gains trample if it's red, and gains vigilance if it's white. So you do get to pump your creatures a little bit with this. Bronze here, just to sacrifice a creature off and deal some damage that way. Again with Gisela, this is 8 damage to anything. Firemane Angel, whenever he attacks, or she attacks, sorry, and 2 other creatures attack with her as well, you get to do basically a lightning helix on an angel, so that's pretty cool. Ironas, God of Victory, prevent all damage will be dealt to attacking creatures you control, and gives you all your creatures menace, so gives you a way to punch through quite happily. And once you can make this the indestructible God version with the permanents in play, hitting 7 devotion, very hard to stop outside of exiling. War Leader's Helix is an upgraded version of Lightning Helix. I still think this should cost 3, not 4, but it is what it is. And Outlaw's Merriment, bit of fun. Yes, it does give us red and white creatures, which is quite cool. But it also means, especially if we can randomly get the 3rd option, the 1 damage when the rogue enters play, gets doubled up by Gisela still. And Blade Historian, I figured if we're going to be playing red-white, we might as well play one of the cards that came out of Strixhaven that everybody despises of seeing when they see it in Winota. But in this deck, it just doubles up to make sure we get our damage punching through quite happily. Burn Down the House is a bit more board control, but we'd probably be using it for the Devil ability more often than not. Court of Ear, just to give us a monarchy, and then we can start shocking things and then doing 7 damage if we're still the monarch. That gets out of hand very quickly with the doubling of Gisela or some of the other cards. Assemble the Legion is just me going back to my old days of Gatecrash. If we can keep it in play and get it going for a little while, having all the red and white soldier tokens with haste really does make a difference. Bassandra Battle Seraph is also in the deck, another angel. Players can't cast spells during combat, and target creature attacks this turn if able. So, you can force attacks if you need to. I think Bassandra may be needing her own deck tech at some stage in the future just to get around everything else. Balefire Liege pumps all our creatures up, and when we cast a red spell, we get to lightning bolt a player or a planeswalker. And when we cast a white spell, we gain 3 life. No brainer in this deck at all. Farewell for even more board control, and Chandra Awakening. Get this cast once and then +2 it just to get an emblem on everyone, doubling up the damage to shock level every turn with Gisela. So yeah, it's worth it. Inferno Titan is just another way of doing damage, and it's just a nice big beater. Same with Burning Sun's Avatar. Enters the battlefield, deals 3 damage to target opponent or planeswalker, or 3 damage to one target creature. Hopefully you'll be casting this after Gisela's in play, and making that 6 and 6. So keep it thinking that way. And Fiery Emancipation. If a source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals triple that damage to that permanent or player instead. I'm going to say now, as soon as you drop this card, you become the biggest target on the board. Just bear that in mind when you're playing this. Duke Older of Ravengard gives all one of our creatures Myriad, which is quite nice. Just don't put it on a legendary creature. Put it on something like Bofard Liege. That makes it really quite complicated. Oriel the War Leader gives an extra attack phase. Again, 6 mana, a little bit more castable, and gets to go in again. Approach of the Second Sun is our backup. Bloodfire Colossus really is the game-winning card. As long as you're above sort of like 18 life with Fiery Emancipation or 12 life with Gisela in play, you can win the game with this just by sacking it off for 1 red mana. Hellkite comes in and does a whole load of damage with one of the doublers in play. City of Fire does a tripling effect again, which we really enjoy. Yeah, I'm a bit keen on these two, this one and Fiery Emancipation. Slightly prefer City on Fire at the moment because you can use some of your creatures to convoke it into play, so it makes it a little bit quicker to get into play. But at the same point, you know, Fiery Emancipation, City of Fire, whichever one you get in play first, makes you a target. Last 2 cards, already mentioned Blasphemous Act. Aurelial's Fury, X red and white, and deals X damage divided as you choose amongst any number of targets. Tap each creature dealt damage this way. Players dealt damage this way can't cast non-creature spells this turn. So it gives you a nice way of shutting down any combat tricks someone might be holding up against you. And Wildfire Awakener, which came from the March of the Machines Commander set. When it enters the battlefield, create X 1/1 red elemental creature tokens. With one of those creature becomes tapped, it deals 1 damage to target player. This card is going up in price at the moment on MTGO, and if you can get one in real life, good for you. But it's great. It's something to sink your mana into late in the game to get all those lovely little elementals, which you'll then hopefully be able to hold off and then go through the whole tap them in your next turn and get that extra damage in. But that's it. That is my take on Gisela as Blade of Goldnight as we stand at the moment. Again, it's another Commander Masters card I haven't covered before. So there's a few other ones going around that I have covered. I hope you enjoyed this one. Come back tomorrow, see tomorrow's video. I'm still on leave. I'm still on holiday this week. I'm on leave from work, but I'm on holiday with the wife. So no streams this week. Next stream will be the 13th of August, where you can come see me play some of these decks, all things being equal. But thanks for watching. Hopefully you've hit the subscribe button. If you haven't, go and do it now. Leave me a comment. I try and respond to all the comments even though I'm on holiday. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Cheers. Bye.